Is it pressure or what? It's pressure? What's
Crusher?
causing the
No,
pressure?
it's what I call a high horsepower motor that's just running.
Well, it's probably a crusher.
If
Because
that's
they
how,
crush rock up there, don't they?
yeah, if that's how a crusher works.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a big old humongous motor and it grinds.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like 100 horse motor.
Yeah.
It's a steady drum. It's not like, somebody thought, oh, it's a wood chipper. No, because every time you throw a log in a wood chipper, you hear what's going on.
Yeah.
So the frequency doesn't
Well, it's a
change.
pitch. So
Just-
It's a
it's-
steady
Just a
state
drum.
drum. There's no very,
The only other thing it could be would be a screen.
yeah. I think it's a
It
screen.
could be a screen.
Certainly it's not any motor under load or different. And,
It's just constant, Judge?
yeah,
Like 8 hours a day?
yeah, it starts at like sometimes 6:30 in the morning and it runs to 5:30 at night.
Yeah, I'm surprised they let them start that early.
Well, yeah, they're not supposed to. They also,
Because I
As
think
far
when
as
I was
I
on
can
the
tell,
board,
they-
they told kids they couldn't start until like 7.
yeah,
Early.
Brenda said last night that they, told her that it's their dust abatement fan, and they only turn it on when they're loading the trucks. Well, if that's the case, they're not doing that. They just lied to them. This thing never shuts up.
Hey Brenda,
How are you?
welcome.
Nice to have Brenda back.
She's in Waterville.
Oh. Is she pretty reasonable?
Yeah.
Hey, Tom.
I know her personally.
Where is she?
Did you have nice holidays, Don?
I think I.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Didn't travel.
Yeah, me either. I like it that way.
Yeah, and they probably don't exceed the decibel requirement.
Structure.
The noise ordinance
Is that
has
yours?
a decibel requirement.
The barn,
It's
yes.
a barn?
Yeah.
And what do you have, horses?
Yeah, and it's pretty
Actually,
high.
my mother-in-law
Well,
has 2
and
horses.
It's supposed to be measured at the lot.
Yep.
It's supposed to be measured at
At
the
the lot
lot.
line, yeah.
Your old house.
Yeah.
I don't know, I must say,
Titus
if I
is a
worked
draft house,
there,
and I have too many.
wherever this is coming from,
Yeah.
I really
Do they
would
all
not
go
go
into
to
together?
together. I mean, I wouldn't want to.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Because it's not, also, it's not just that
Oh,
it's
yes, there is, yep.
Yeah.
particularly
Yeah.
loud, but it's 24/7.
Yeah, it's annoying.
It never stops.
On the other side of one
Yeah.
pond.
Because I know when they log anyways near me, they're in there for a week.
So I
The
had.
You
house.
hear that
thing.
thing.
So.
Oh, the chipper?
It starts in the morning and it goes all day. And you just say, please get the hell out.
If I had my way,
Leave
there would
everything.
be.
Yeah.
Dave
That
and
ain't
Buzz
never
here?
gonna leave.
They're both here.
They
Okay,
are.
great, we can start then. Go off mute here.
How many, call-ins do we have tonight?
Actually, Dave and Buzz are both on, the Zoom, and so everybody's here.
Cool.
This is
I'm
the,
here.
you there, Dave?
I am.
Buzz, you there? Buzzy?
He's muted.
He's muted.
Yeah, we voted on that. It's personal.
Okay, I'm gonna call the January 4th, 2024 Ordinance Review Committee meeting to order. And let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we are actually all here,
Really?
I don't really go there.
so we have a quorum, obviously.
Peggy?
Hi, Buzz.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. We appoint Peggy McDonald as chairman.
Okay, so yeah, that's the first thing, election of a new committee chair. And
I'll second that.
so Yeah, I don't mind doing it. I mean, I'm a busy gal. I know more or less than anybody else on this committee I know. But I always start when I finish. And we need a chair and we need a vice chair. If you guys make me chair, then I will be chair. But I would also very much welcome anybody else that raise their hand to do it and support that.
Sounds like the railroad's running.
Okay, so yeah, there's a motion on the table and the second,
It's
I
a
guess,
nomination, it's a
is there-
nomination, it's not a motion.
sorry, a nomination. Is there any discussion about it? Everybody want to vote? Okay, let's have a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All those opposed? Nobody. Okay, so now we need a vice chair. And somebody that can fill in for me when I'm not here.
Everybody's coughing now.
Oh, I'd be glad to swap this job out for it. Nobody wants this job either.
Matt, don't pretend you're not involved in this.
I'm listening.
What are you doing?
I'm listening. Responding to a word.
I think you'd make an excellent vice chair.
All right,
I'll nominate Matt.
Oh, Matt's a great choice. I'll second that.
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay,
All right, Matt, congratulations.
Oh my God.
all right. Moving on.
one thing, if I may,
Sure.
Dave, and maybe it's just me, but when you sent out the minutes and the shoreline zoning ordinance proposed
That was me.
change, I got both the same thing, the shoreline, I didn't get the minutes.
Oh, I sent them in separate. There was 3 different emails. Oh, it must have been because of the way they were, let me just see if
I
I could.
apologize, I don't have it, if you wanna read it. then at least,
Okay, hold on one
I
sec,
can know.
Dave. Let me see if I can send that to you right now.
I didn't get it either.
Oh, you didn't get it either?
I got multiple things of the same. I got 3 of these.
Right.
Cause I got what I thought Dave and
I have it copied.
Roger got.
What I gave, everything that I sent in the drive was,
Yeah, I got 3 of these.
okay, here we go. Forward. All right. So everybody can take a look at their minutes while I'm trying to send this to Dave from the last meeting. It's in the packet that I sent, that I just gave you guys.
Does it come in email, Beck, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to your email.
Now, the only other question I have while we're waiting, Dave, is this document is exactly what we talked about, and I believe we voted on.
Which document are you talking about?
The one that,
shoreline zoning ordinance.
Yeah, I didn't send anything out, Dave. Peggy sent everything out. I didn't do that.
yeah, so those are just that document that you got in that Zoom packet that I sent, which, by the way, I just sent those minutes again. Let me know if you got them, Dave Alves. So
My question is when the people see this, they will see what was in it prior versus.
Oh.
Yeah, I redid it, and if it gets approved, I'll do it in the right format, and it'll be on the minutes for me.
Okay, all right. Good. Did you get those minutes, Dave?
I'm working on
Okay.
Not yet.
No, it's not, huh? It's in my send. Yep. Maybe it's not going out because I'm in the building, I don't know, I wouldn't think that, but it is in my sent, so
If you want to take a picture.
Sure.
That's another fun.
I'll text it to you.
Is there a definition of habitable space in the ordinance?
I don't know, good question.
I got the whole thing in one email. That's what's it.
There you go.
This is not what a lot of people think it is.
Yeah. I got the whole thing. in one
No,
email.
go ahead, continue.
You got it, okay. All right, so everybody's had a chance to look at the meeting minutes. I have looked at them already before the meeting, so I'm looking for a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Okay. I will, anybody second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? It passed. Okay. So, first thing on the agenda that I put for tonight was the discussion on the comprehensive plan, on how it will be approved. At the last meeting, in Dave's minutes, you see that the question was posed, how is the comprehensive plan going to be presented to the voters or approved by the voters? Does it have to go to a general election? So I did check with Lindsay. I scoured the charter. There is nothing in the charter that says comprehensive plan needs to go to the general election. So I went and looked at state law, and I found that it only says, I'm going to read it to you here, that, and this is part of Title 30A, it says that it has to go before the legislative body of the town. So I wanted clarification, and I reached out to Lindsay. And this was her reply. I'm going to read it to you. It looks as though she sees a way around this. She said, "Hi Peggy, that's a good question. You're right, it's not specified in the charter. The state statute says it has to be adopted by a legislative body, which could be by open town meeting vote, like your annual town meeting or secret ballot vote, like an election process. The town could adopt a comp plan at any time. Once the committee feels good about the final version, they should send it to the select board and ask to have a town meeting to vote on it. The select board would choose a date and decide if they want it to be open town meeting or secret ballot, and we'd go from there. A secret ballot vote would also allow for 30-day absentee voting and may bring in more voters than an open town meeting." So that's what it's looking like will most likely happen with comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan, we got together last week, and their comprehensive plan is going to meet on every Thursday that we're not meeting. And we had a lot of discussion about the plan, obviously, and moving forward with it. The consensus seems to be that we need some professional help. We need to get Lee J. Feldman on board or one of his minions to help us with that. And of course, there's a trickle down to the zoning ordinance. Anything to do with growth management is really what comprehensive plan is looking to legislate for help with. Whether 1976 is passed or not, we still really need that help with the growth management part of the comprehensive plan. And because the zoning ordinances are supposed to follow the comprehensive plan, the suggestion at the last meeting was that we get shoreline squared away with the ADUs and in the regular ordinance, and as well as contract zoning. Get those three things put together tonight if we can, and get it sent off to Brad Moran. And once Brad Moran approves it, yays, nays, whatever, we go through, make the changes that he requests perhaps. Then we go get our signatures and have our meetings. So in the meantime, while comp is figuring out, and it's not just comprehensive plan, it's Lindsay and Brenda and comprehensive plan, everybody figures out how that's going to happen. We can be working on other things. Whether we take a break, we're probably not gonna, I don't wanna really lose our momentum. So perhaps we just start working on other things. We could start in section 7, we could move forward, that's kind of beyond the growth management part of the zoning ordinance. Or we could do grammar, or as directed by the charter, we could do surveys as well. Surveys the town and see what their thoughts are, and kind of get a feel for where they are and what they'd like to see for changes in our zoning ordinance. So that is open for discussion, and I'm happy to listen to anybody that has any comments on that. Go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say, is there going to be a survey done for comprehensive plan?
So
I mean,
the
with some
charter
talk
is,
of that.
yeah, so the charter is specific in saying that the ordinance review committee should be surveying the town. It is not as specific about comprehensive plan, which is really weird because the state law actually says comprehensive plan should be surveying the town, as opposed to the ordinance. I think both should.
Well, I was just gonna suggest, I mean, maybe it's not practical, but if we're gonna do a survey, maybe, is it possible one survey could cover both areas without, they're sort of different, but they're tied together, is what I'm saying.
Exactly. I think that it should be a collaborative effort that
Yeah.
we get a survey together. The only thing that I would worry about is that it becomes too long.
Yeah, that may be
I think
true.
if it's too long, people are just gonna go, yeah, whatever, and not pay any attention to it. If we make it short and sweet, and, get the hot button topics out there anyway, to see where people are, I think that would be important.
Okay.
Is there a cost associated with the survey?
Yeah, we still have, I have not received a bill from Lindsay saying anything that we were charged out about $1,500 for Brad or Lee J in the last meeting. But we would obviously have some costs associated with the postage of it and or the printing. We had way back, I'm sure you all remember, discussed with Lee, the possibility of the every door direct mail. That's probably still a possibility. Not sure how many emails we're up to as far as the town. I don't think it's a lot, but we could pump it out on social media. We could do MailChimp and get it into people's email boxes and stuff like that. But I do think it should be a collaborative effort between COG and ORC.
Not wasting money, there's not a lot of money
Right.
to waste anyway.
Right, there isn't, for sure.
Right. And collaborating with comprehensive plan would lower that cost.
Yes, exactly. So any further discussion on that? No, okay, moving on. All right. Oh, sorry about that, it's my phone, that was rude. Okay, so next I have the review of the ADU into shoreland. But in the packet that I gave you guys, that next page after the minutes, remember that 1127 was the last changes that Mike Rancourt sent out into Google Drive. That was the final ones that he had sent out anyway. So that's the copy that we were going with. I made a few grammatical suggestions there. So if we could just go down through that, and if we don't want to put them in, we don't have to, but I think it's important that they're in there. On section 10.6, I think that the first word which, one accessory dwelling unit shall be permitted on a lot where an owner-occupied single-family dwelling is located must meet the following conditions. Does anybody have a problem with that?
Can I ask you a question? Why does it have to be owner occupied?
Because it's supposed to, I think the intent of an accessory dwelling unit is that it's, an extra unit for extra people to live.
No, I understand that, but I mean, can it be worded differently? Maybe owner retained? I mean, what if the owner?
The owner's gonna retain the land in any event,
Yeah,
but
but
the
I'm
owner's
saying-
not gonna retain it if he sells
But
it.
why do they have to be occupying that? They may want to have another family member. They may want to be in Arizona or Florida and not,
I think
actually-
that's state mandated.
I think it is too, but I also think that if you didn't have that, if the owner was not in the property, they're not paying attention to business, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we decided we wouldn't get rid of, for instance, short-term rentals, because we said, and you, as a matter of fact, you said at the time, what's the problem with short-term rentals? Because the owner's gonna be living there. He's not gonna have jerks running.
so if you have the ADU and down the road, people are older. I'm going to Florida. I don't want to be up here. I've got another, son or daughter that's going to inhabit the place. What happens? The ADU is no longer,
No, they just sell it to the son or
Viable?
daughter, and the son or daughter moves in, and that's the way it works.
but I'm saying, what if it's not sold? It's just, they're in Florida. Some other member of the family is living there.
And it's not owner
Is
occupied.
there some
Yeah, I don't think,
polices that? Can you no longer have the
it would be
ADU?
too hard to police that, I'm
Probably.
sure, for Brenda. There's
You
no way
wouldn't
she
know.
could possibly keep up with it. I think we just have to put the expectation out there that the owner is.
And we're not alone. I don't think there's a single town.
Oh, no,
that
no.
doesn't have that.
Yeah, I think so too. And like Brenda said, I'm pretty sure there's regulations within the state that require it to be owner occupied. So just those two words in section 10.6, I think need to be changed.
Do you want to go through the entire document or vote by line?
Let's just go down, if anybody has any
Yeah,
suggestions about it.
just looking at that sentence, I'm looking at it and it's something doesn't seem to be, where we have which it must, is that referring to the lot or the dwelling? If you read it,
One accessory dwelling unit shall be permitted on a lot where an owner-occupied single-family dwelling unit is located. There should be a comma there, actually. Must meet the following
the
conditions.
dwelling must meet, right?
Yes. Comma, there should be a comma after located. For a pause, correct, Don?
Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know,
Well,
it's something's really
It
weird.
says dwelling unit in the first line, so it probably should be dwelling unit in the second line as well,
Oh, you're right.
if you're looking to clarify.
No, that's not, it's,
Oh, yeah, not,
the single family dwelling is referring to the dwelling that's currently on the lot. The accessory dwelling is the second. So I say it's a little confusing.
Yeah, you're right.
One unit shall be permitted on a lot where an owner-occupied single-family dwelling is located, and it's referring to lot which meets the following. I guess you'd have to say the ADU should meet the
Right,
following.
almost should be a period after.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then any or all ADUs
Yeah.
must
Oh, okay.
meet the following.
Yeah, make it two sentences.
The ADU, yeah, I think that
Are
would,
you getting that in
yeah,
there?
I think that's better.
Yeah, I think so too.
So it'll be period after located,
Yep,
and then it'll be the ADU.
an ADU must meet the
Must.
following conditions.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah, that was
then,
bothering me. I couldn't,
yeah, it was, you were right, you're right. Section 10.6, I think we need to strike the word on,
yeah,
okay? And then in 10.6.6, I think we just need to
because
add that.
it was on which, and you changed it to where, so I should have
Oh, right,
taken
right,
the on
right,
out.
yeah. No worry, no worry.
Yeah.
And then, George, go ahead.
I had a question on
Sure.
10.6.1, and just,
Yeah?
if you have a non-conforming lot, you don't meet the current dimensional requirements.
No, the intent of that is that if it's a non-conforming, if it's an existing certified non-conforming lot, in other words, like most of the lots on the ponds are all non-conforming lots.
Right.
But they're buildable. And what they're referring, maybe we need to,
Grandfathered buildable?
what's that?
Do you mean that they're grandfather buildable?
Yes,
Okay,
but that's what, and that, maybe we should clarify that a little more, if you don't.
well, I mean, you're saying it has to meet all the,
They have to, even a non-conforming lot must meet all the dimensional, it has to have the right setbacks.
Yeah.
It has to meet all that.
by definition, it doesn't.
No, it
It's a
doesn't have the
non-conforming
area.
lot.
It's non-conforming because it's,
Non-conforming as far as the zone that it's located
Yeah.
in, not as far as the setbacks or subsurface wastewater or anything like that. It has
for
to be-
instance, on the ponds, a conforming lot is 200 feet of waterfront and 200 feet deep. There's not a lot of lots like that in Lyman. Most of them are 50 feet, 100 feet, but they still have to meet 75-foot setback. They still have to meet so much from the sidewalk, front sides and so forth. So that's what it means.
So,
there. But I mean, if it's confusing to you, it's gonna be confusing to others.
It has to have existed prior to 1976.
Yeah,
was it, that's when the shoreline zoning was enacted,
That's
right?
when zoning went in.
Yeah.
Right, not shoreline, but zoning.
But zoning, 76.
yeah, legally constituted non-conforming lot, I think that's the term. It can't just be a non-conforming lot, it has to be legally constituted. And like Brenda said, it has to be, in order to do that, it has to have been in effect before 73 or whatever the date was. And it still has to meet setback requirements. So if it can't meet setbacks, it can't build on it.
Go ahead, Don.
The definition in shoreline zoning just says non-conforming lot, a single lot of record, which at the effective date of adoption or amendment of this ordinance does not meet the area, frontage, or width requirements of the district in which it is located.
Yeah.
So it says
Right.
area, frontage, or width.
Yep.
So.
But it has to meet all
But
the
it
other
has to meet
requirements of
the other
setbacks.
requirements. yeah.
Setbacks, frontage, anything like that.
Well, sure, maybe that's the way it should be worded.
Well, but, I mean, it's in the definition, do we need to put it in here again? I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but we just add in words that are already in here somewhere.
And perhaps, perhaps we could, instead of dimensional requirements, say setback requirements? Would that cover it all?
Would that cover it, Brenda? The setback's the only problem? Oh, there's also
A
height
legal
restrictions.
non-conforming lot doesn't meet setback, right?
Yeah, they do.
They have to meet setbacks.
They still have to meet setbacks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They
So a
do.
lot of those little lots, I tell them, because setbacks down there is 10, so I said, if you get 75 feet from the water and you can meet 10, 10, and 10, get a septic on it, get a well on it, then it's buildable.
And if there's an existing building on it, they don't have to meet the 75 feet. They can build to where the existing building is, and that-
100 feet from it.
so there's a lot of rules in shoreline zoning about how you can build on a non-conforming lot. And it's important because probably 80% or 90% of the lots in Lyman are non-conforming.
Meaning shoreline.
Shoreline, yeah.
And we have quite a bit of shoreline.
Oh, yeah, we do. They pick up 30% of the tax bill.
Is that all? Should be more.
I was gonna say,
Well, I don't know, after the last reval, it might be up. I checked it like 10 years ago, and it was 30%.
Can you make sure that the definition in the zoning ordinance is the same one that's in your shoreline ordinance, because you're basing a lot on that definition.
Is there a definition in the zoning ordinance for
Yeah,
that?
there is, and they're different. I just.
They are? Oh,
I
God.
just, because it's on page 47 in shoreline, on page 74 in the zoning ordinance, and they're different. A little different, but they're different.
Dave, Alves, are you in charge of definitions, right?
You're firing me.
Nope, I'm not firing you.
Alright.
So just maybe make a note that we gotta change it to match shoreland.
Yeah.
Actually, I like the one in the zoning now, because it actually says January 1, 1976.
Oh, does it? Let me look, I'm getting to that page
Are
there.
you looking at non-conforming? Yeah.
That non-conforming.
Yeah, and then right under is non-conforming lot of record, so there's two there, which is interesting.
Those are important.
Those are important, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so that
yeah,
should be-
you're right. Okay, Dave, so
Holy cow.
I think the consensus seems to be that the one that is in the zoning ordinance should be the one that goes into the shoreland ordinance.
Oh, that's-
So that one in the zoning ordinance should be the one that stays.
Well,
Do we want to add of record on here?
could
Yeah, I
I
think we should.
mention that?
Sure.
Yeah, in shoreland, there's also there's a definition of non-conforming lot, non-conforming structure, but the lot is different here.
Oh, the definition's in the front of it.
Yeah, so I mean, there's sort of, you gotta look at them both together, I think. You have to use,
The shoreline is inaccurate because it says the effective date of adoption of this ordinance, and that's not true. It's the adoption of this.
Yeah, so that needs to be fixed.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a glaring error.
And so we're gonna add, and we just talked about, we're gonna add, under 10.6.1, we're gonna add
Should be
non-conforming lot of record.
Yeah.
And so it'd be the same thing for in the shoreline one, right?
Correct,
Yeah, got it. You look the way it's on.
of record, yeah. Okay. So then, 10.6.6 is, we just didn't have that, we
Yeah,
had
I-
100, we're just gonna add 50, and then the 150 in parentheses. And that's all I had for the little edits on that one. And then the next page of the packet that I gave you guys is,
Before we move on.
Yeah.
Do you think it's worthy in shrinking a few things down? Accessory dwelling unit is mentioned 6 times. Can we just, like on 10.6.1, 2, 3.
On the first one,
ADU?
yeah, on the first one, we can
oh, we're good.
make it accessory dwelling, on the 10.6. Accessory
yeah.
dwelling, comma,
Further, no,
paren ADU,
Parentheses?
Yeah.
yep, parentheses.
and then after
ADU.
that, call it ADU.
That's a good idea, Dave,
Okay.
yep,
I like it.
yep. So I'm just gonna scratch that out, at 10.6.2, we're gonna put ADU.
1, 2, 3,
ADU.
4.
ADU. Yep,
Hmm.
is that good? So 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, and 4, right? I think that's
1,
it.
2, 3.
Oh, yeah, one, we have one there too.
Okay.
And three
Alright.
is in two places.
What's that, Don?
3 is in 2 places, 10.6.3.
10.6 is in 2 places.
And it's in 4.
Oh, yep,
The
I see it.
ADU, wherever there's ADU, there's, you know, just make it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. Any further discussion on that? Oh, Brenda, go ahead.
I don't know if now's the time to worry about it,
Now's the time, babe.
okay, but the indentions of those subsections of
Yes.
10.6, should they go in?
Yeah.
10.6.
10.6.6.
Yeah, that's gonna
The
be,
alignment.
somebody's gonna have to handle that.
Yes, yeah,
That's,
I mean, I'll try to put it together.
yeah,
oh,
What?
the indents on 10.6.6.
I'm not an
say how it's
expert
not
on
in
formatting.
line
Every time I try to do it,
with
it throws me
the
out.
rest of them
well, the computer tries to do it for you.
Yes, that's what the problem is, yeah.
on this page.
So maybe we can give all this to Julie.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the old one.
Oh, no, this one.
She's pretty damn busy now.
So, yeah, okay.
I just, one last thing, I just, this is a question for Brenda. 10.6.4 just seems like one of those vague statements that are unenforceable, or unclear. I don't even know why it's there.
I think it's subjective.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about
I
that.
think I
Do you want to answer that, Dave? Or you want me to? Because we discussed this already. You weren't at the
I missed
meeting.
it, all right, I
I
apologize.
well,
think they're trying to get people to not have tar paper shacks in their backyard.
Well, not only that, but the example that was thrown out there was the guy could put a Conex box in there and make it a
Yeah.
ADU. Do we want
Yes.
somebody with Conex box next to you?
Right.
So granted, and Dave doesn't like subjective, and I don't like subjective either, but I don't know how you
That's why I
make
brought it
that
up, because
objective, yeah.
I think it's,
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
mean, obviously, if the guy tries to put in a shipping container, everybody's gonna say that doesn't look like a single family unit. Now, if he puts in almost anything else, okay, I don't know, now it's subjective, but
You could make a shipping container look like a single.
you
family.
can, yes, that's right, and if he does, and they do, I've seen them on.
Yeah.
As long as it looks like, that's fine, yeah, but if it just looks like a shipping container.
Yep.
And that's another one that other communities seem to be popping in there.
I agree.
I like plagiarism.
It will be hard for a shipping container to meet NFPA
Energy
101.
code,
You-
yes.
right?
Well, I don't know, why do you say that?
Have you all seen that one going up to Cornish?
I just say it'll be hard.
Oh, there's one
Not,
that's
not saying it can't be done, but it'll be hard.
You see the ones, I saw some
Interior
online.
finish, Egress.
Yeah, and they put windows in it,
And
So
the
it can happen.
yeah. And if they do all that and make it look like a single family house, I don't have a problem, but
well, it's a dwelling unit, it has to conform to building code.
Right, by the time you bring that up to, your R value and your egresses and everything else, you might as well put a foundation in and just.
Right. Throw a mobile home on top of it. Yep. All right, so any further discussion on 10.6? All right, so do we want to make a motion do we need a motion, or we're gonna put it in the minutes, right, Dave?
yeah, what we have said in the
Yeah,
past
we're
is that
gonna put it in the
it'll be
minutes.
attached to the minutes and it'll be approved with the minutes.
With the minutes.
So
Okay.
we might have a long discussion at the
Yeah.
next meeting, but.
All right, so let's move on to,
So this is gonna be rewritten with the changes.
yeah, he's gonna.
Yeah,
go
I'm gonna
changes.
rewrite it and I'll send it to Peggy and she'll send it
Yeah.
out to everybody.
Yeah.
So we'll have it plenty of time.
So then the next page in that packet is just, I just copied it out of our shoreline, just so we don't have to keep flipping back to it. And literally, all I did was take the snippet from ADUs in the regular zoning ordinance and dumped it into the shoreline ordinance at the end. And everything that I highlighted in yellow is what I added, and it's carbon copy.
And what I'll do, if everybody likes it, what I'll do is I'll fix it to make it look like we just. did
Yeah,
that.
and I wasn't sure, I put this on a thumb drive. If you want to take the thumb drive, you can just copy and paste
I
it. into-
already did it.
You did. This part? Okay.
I
all
took,
right.
I have this part already in Word. So
Okay.
I just
All right,
bumped
good,
it out.
good.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Of Brenda?
Go ahead.
Habitable floor space. That can be,
Is there a definition? I guess that's the question.
well, the habitable, it just says, any portion of a building designed for human occupation which has a ceiling height greater than 6.5 feet and is climate controlled. You know, there are some code enforcement that say you don't have to count closets, you don't have to call them hallways. There's some that say, hey, the space taken up by your kitchen cabinets and your refrigerators are out of there, not bathrooms. So do we need a more definitive of habitable space?
Here's my 2 cents, and I agree if you want to clarify it, but if you have a 6'6" ceiling and you need an egress window and you need it 18 inches off the floor, the math doesn't work. So I think that would come under the building permit.
Yeah.
But if you want to clarify, I'm good with that too.
I make the determination pretty much because what the state said is habitable. And I like it.
Yeah, and what the building code says is habitable, and this 6.5 feet is an interesting number, because that got in there a long time ago when there's all the crap about cellars on shoreline zoning. They made people put in cellars that were no higher than 6 feet, because they said if you put in one that's more than 6 feet, we're gonna count that as volume, and you can't have that, so.
We don't move forward.
I know, I'm not anymore, but I'm talking about this, that's the genesis of that number.
But I mean, I like, well, I take out the bathroom, the hallways. I have
Closets.
taken out an island in the kitchen one time, because that's all they needed, was that, what was it, 3x4, 12 square feet. I try to be reasonable.
But I think the building code has a definition in there. Do you know, Dave?
What's that?
Doesn't the National Building Code have a definition of habitable space?
I'm sure.
Because I know when Rowley built his ADU, that's what he used.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to find that, and since you're the definition guy, maybe you could find it for us.
Because your definition, Brenda, may be different than another code enforcement officer.
You're right.
You know, and it's, you know, it is subjective what, you know, you can do in this height, ceiling height. And there are ways around that also. I mean, in the town I came from, where I was a builder, you could only have 2.5 stories. And this family was adamant, they wanted me to develop the top floor. So half of it was an inch below, and it was simply deemed storage. But, you know, at 800 feet, someone may need a little bit more. That's why I'm saying, do we want to clarify this? Because another code enforcement officer may see it differently.
Maybe that could just take a definition, you know, habitable space means,
Yeah, so when we change our definitions, perhaps
I think
Is the
that
time.
can take care of that.
sharpen our pencil on that definition at that time.
And we can look it up and see what the building code said.
Yeah, I think
Yeah. Yeah.
the building code covers it.
I'll check.
Yeah. thank you.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So any further discussion on shoreline zoning ADU?
Hey, I'm concerned with,
Sure.
shall not exceed 35 feet in height. There's some areas in shoreline that you can't exceed 20 feet in height.
That's based on that's based on the state.
That, yeah, we can't change that, so.
Yeah, where are you seeing that in
It
here?
needs to be in there.
You don't think it needs to be in there at all?
Well, 35 feet, I think, is Lyman zoning code.
That's cold.
Right, it can't exceed 35 feet.
But you're suggesting, we're talking shoreline here, you're suggesting that maybe they can go 35 feet, and there's areas that you can only do 20. If you're out of the 75, am I right, Don, if you're
Where's
out of the,
Oh,
Number two.
that's already in there. That's not something we added, yeah.
It's already.
shall not exceed 35 feet, yeah, I mean,
Can we take that out?
well, I would prefer not to, because, and here's what we're saying is, it can't exceed 35 feet. But if it's within the 75-foot limit, it has to go by, and that's very well defined in the code and by the state. If it's 20 feet from the water, it can be 20 feet high, if it's whatever.
I just don't know why
Somewhere we need to say you can't be over 35 feet.
that's code, that's all I'm at.
Well, it's
Where?
usually,
Which code?
it's usually 35 feet from the front.
I don't know, this building code
Hold
doesn't.
on, Dave, Al, go ahead.
Yeah, it's usually 35 feet from the front, and a lot of times, you have sloping towards the back. So whatever you change, you may have 37, 38 feet in the back.
It's 35 feet of the average grade,
Right,
the average original. grade.
it tells you how to measure 35
But
feet.
I believe that's code.
It's, remember, the shoreline code is separate from the zoning code.
Right.
If
so
we want
what
it,
is
if
that?
it's in here, it's gotta be in here as well as in the regular code.
But it doesn't pertain to shoreline.
It certainly does. You cannot have a building in shoreline zoning that's more than 35 feet high. If you don't think there's any over there that are 35, I'll show them to you.
No, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that. What I'm saying is that's code, so why are we stating?
You're stating the obvious is your point.
No, here again.
Then we should
Okay,
say
which
it in
code,
Right.
which code is it, Brenda?
I'll have to look that up.
The zoning ordinance. If you want to talk about shoreland, here again, we've had this discussion before. The zoning code does not apply to the shoreland. The shoreland does not apply to the zoning, and vice versa. If you want it to be, read it.
I don't know what you just said. I'm not doubting what you said. I don't know
Okay.
what you said.
The shoreline zone ordinance is completely separate from the zoning ordinance. No parts of the zoning ordinance apply to the shoreline ordinance. No parts of the shoreline ordinance apply to the zoning ordinance. You say we're gonna use the 35 feet out of the zoning ordinance on the shoreline ordinance, you can't do it.
But you're doing it.
Because it has to be said here, if we don't want it to be more than 35 feet, we have to say it. If you take that out, I can build a 60-foot building on shoreline. If I take the 35 feet out,
But no, Brenda's point is that if we take the 35 out, Dave's point is that he's saying that they could potentially build a 65-foot building or whatever.
what
But
would you use to not do it? Don't pull out the zoning ordinance, because it doesn't apply.
I believe it goes to the building code,
I do.
which would be 35.
Is there-
No, the building code doesn't say 35 feet. What about if you,
Single family dwelling is 35 feet.
where?
that's shoreline.
Which code are you talking about?
The Massachusetts code.
It doesn't apply here. This is me.
You laugh, but it's the one everybody goes by.
That may be, but it doesn't apply here.
It's national.
Is there a statement, I wonder, that says that?
Well, if we don't need it in the regular ordinance, why do we have it there?
Okay, so let's see.
I think that's what Brenda was saying. We don't have it anywhere else. Why is it there?
Yeah,
Because we don't want buildings more than 35
And
feet
that's-
high, and I would think that as the fire chief, you would probably be happy with that, because if they build a 50-foot building in Lyman, how are you gonna get to it?
I 100% agree with you. I don't think anybody is arguing over the fact that we should allow larger buildings in town. I think we're just arguing over the fact that.
So it does
we need
say-
the words in this ordinance, because if we take them out of this ordinance, it's covered someplace else. That's all we're
So
arguing.
it is in the regular ordinance. It's,
It's in the regular ordinance. It
right,
doesn't apply to shoreline.
is it 35 in the regular ordinance?
I assume that it
It
is. I mean, we've had.
it is,
discussions
it's
before, so
on page
let's start
20
again.
of the regular ordinance.
Okay, page 20.
Does anybody know where it might be in
Oh, yeah,
the
okay.
shoreline? Is it in shoreline?
Yeah, that's in this part that we put here.
In shoreline, it's on page
The spread
16.
at the top of the packet I gave you.
It's, in shoreline zoning, it's on page 16 where it talks about.
Yeah.
it. So,
Page 16, Don?
yeah, in shoreline, yeah,
So
number 2 there.
building code 602.3 says, building height, maximum main building height in a residential zone shall be 30 feet high, that doesn't have to 35 feet high. Building height shall be the vertical height is measured from the average elevation. So it is in there.
Is it
But
outside?
read it again.
It says residential zone.
Yeah, it doesn't say shoreline zone, it says residential
But it's
zone.
not capitalized, so it means, I think, any residence, right? No?
No, we've had this, I've got to find it again.
Page 16 of the shoreland zoning ordinance references 35 feet.
He is, but
Yes.
that's what he's saying. Brenda's saying, why does that need to be in there? And Dave is saying that it should be in there so that people can't build a 65-foot building. However,
Is this going
Yes,
to be
go ahead.
replaced?
Is
Is this
anybody
page?
in the room advocating that we allow 36-foot tall buildings?
no, so leave it,
I say we move on.
leave it.
And I'm saying that there are some areas that you can't have 35, you can only have 20. And we do have property owners that say, it says right here, I can build up to 35.
Well, then you show
We
them,
deal with it all the time.
you show them the regulation that says that what the height is. It depends on the distance from the water.
Exactly.
And not to exceed 35 feet means not to exceed.
All right.
It
so
doesn't
we're
mean
gonna
you can
leave-
make it 35 feet.
We're gonna leave the 35 for now, and we're gonna move on. And,
All right, so this is all supposed to replace
yes,
page 16 too.
yes,
Thank you.
right, it goes right in under 16, yeah.
So is this replacing
Under
anything or
two.
it's adding, right? It's not replacing anything.
No,
No.
it's adding.
It's adding,
We're just
Correct.
taking that paragraph 2
that's correct.
and adding
Yep.
all that stuff on the bottom.
Okay.
Yep.
So none of it will, there'll be no strikes. It's okay.
Right, correct.
Okay, so everybody's okay with that? Any more discussion on shoreline zoning ADUs? Nobody, we're good. Okay, moving on.
Do we need to vote on that?
Well, we're gonna vote when he redoes it and we'll vote on the
Yeah, it'll be,
minutes.
you'll vote next time over the minutes.
Now, on-street parking, is that town roads?
That's,
That doesn't include private roads.
I would assume not if they're private.
I think that's state of Maine too.
Private?
I mean, I don't have an axe in that one, but I'm just saying that how can you move it, any kind of equipment around if you've got cars parked on those camp roads?
You can't.
You can't get by them now. Or, I mean, you can, but you can't, it's hard to have 2 cars passing on some of those roads are so narrow. If you had cars parked there, you'd be out of luck.
So it is inclusive of private roads.
We don't know that.
Well, it's not
Well,
clear.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it ought to be.
There are some camp roads that are wide enough for me.
Right, but some aren't.
Right.
Quite a few aren't.
I was surprised to find, until I had my property surveyed, that our camp roads are 40 feet wide.
But they're all built in, aren't they? I mean, they're all.
No, they're 40 feet. They're,
I mean, some people, I myself have built rock walls and I'm encroaching. I didn't realize that Camp Road was 40 feet. But there are some places, so I'm just saying this is not
yeah,
Shall
the
we
Mass
clarify
Road,
clear.
that?
in
Mass Road is 33
who
feet.
enforces the parking regulations?
But I think what this is saying
hold on.
is the ADU parking cannot be on the road. So when I give them a permit, I need to see what their parking will be
Where they're parking.
for that unit.
And does that include camp roads,
I believe it does.
non-conforming?
I did just read this, the state law packet there that they sent out.
Required parking.
Yeah, we
And you
can't require,
additional parking.
right,
We cannot require.
Right.
additional
Right.
parking.
correct.
You can restrict on street.
Yeah, the only thing, yeah, and that's why we
That was
left
our
it in there,
intention
is
was-
so they couldn't park on the road.
So they can't park on the road.
Yeah, yeah.
But is that town-maintained roads, in town-approved roads, or does it include private?
It should be
Camp
all
roads.
roads.
If it's anywhere they want to put an ADU, that's part of the process.
I think that's, for me, Steve, that's the age-old question, right? If it's a private road what do we have the ability to enforce anything
Right.
on a private road?
Yeah.
I have not come up with a good answer to that question. The only answer that I have is what we talked about in 10.6.6, which is fire department access, which says that roads within 150 feet, and I hate quoting code off the top of my head, 150 feet from the main road to your house, if you're more than 150 feet off that or so. Again, it requires the road to be 20 foot, the access, not the road, not the driveway, not any, the access to the house to be 20 feet
Yeah,
long.
I mean, there's gotta be roads for you guys in this town that are just nightmares.
Oh, yeah, we live on, or we don't live on one, but there's one right near us.
Yeah.
It's 12
So,
feet wide in some places.
letter G, is everybody okay with leaving it that way? Or do you feel the need that we need to put all roads, town or otherwise?
Well, I mean,
Private,
legally,
not private.
This is not the spot to put that. If you're gonna do something like that, you gotta find a
In a
distance.
different spot.
I'm
Not
just,
here.
what control does the town have over the camp
We don't.
roads and everything else?
They don't.
Yeah, pretty much none, because they don't maintain them.
So if someone can put an ADU, but there's no place to park except for the road,
Well, that's their problem.
but if it's a private road,
Then maybe they can.
right, so do we need a clarification either legally or somehow?
The
Because
worst, I believe the worst possible thing we could do is try to clarify it and put something in that's illegal.
Yeah.
The best thing we can do is
Yeah,
leave
we
it
don't
like
want
it is.
Leave it as it is, because if we say that, we don't want the state to.
The
Go ahead.
only road, I guess, road, no pun intended, to go down is to require fire department access 24 hours.
Which we
a
already
day,
have.
365 days a year, which means in my world, if the road is 30 feet wide and they park on one side of it, the road remains open 20 feet wide and I should be happy. If the road is 12 feet wide, well, we don't meet it anyway, so what are we gonna do about it?
Right.
Is there anything wrong with just leaving this on-street parking will not be permitted? And
I see
I
nothing
see
wrong with it.
nothing wrong with it.
I mean, it's, whether it's enforceable or not enforceable, it at least, if someone is conscientious and they read this, they'll say, oh, I'm gonna have to do something, or, I'm gonna, because, it's sort of common sense in a little bit, but that doesn't mean it's about common sense.
And it's
Right.
interesting because we already had this discussion. You weren't here that night, Steve.
Well.
We already had the discussion.
Yeah, anyway,
We
I.
keep
All right, so
discussing
we'll
these
move on
things
then.
over
there's
and
probably
Move
more
on.
camp roads and private roads in
Oh.
Lyman than
1 minute,
there
Dave
are
Alves. Go
approved
ahead, Dave
roads.
Alves.
Personally, I think the authority for any parking on private roads would be the fire department.
Should be.
If a truck can't get by,
Yeah.
he's the authority.
Yep, I agree. All right, so we're gonna leave G as is, moving on. And now we are on to new business. And I kind of had a little discussion with Brenda before we came in here. We're gonna keep plunging forward and we're gonna get these new revisions that we just did tonight. Dave will get those back to me. We'll vote on those at the next meeting. And then we're gonna ship the stuff off to Brad Moran. And have him go over it, then we get our signatures, so on and so forth. But what we're gonna do after that, Brenda has some things that she would like to see done. We can either do that or grammar or whatever. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because we have plenty of stuff between now and then. We have to do our signatures, we have to do our public hearings and so on and so forth, so.
You have a schedule now, right?
We do, and I
I don't need to
actually
see it,
was
but I'm
gonna
just
talk
saying
about
you
that.
did
Yes,
that
I was gonna
schedule.
talk about that. We had discussed at the, way back, at a meeting way back, that we were gonna have all of our meetings between May 5th and October 4th, I believe it was. So we're closing in on that pretty quickly. I don't know how long it's gonna take Brad to review these changes. I don't suspect it's gonna be very long. But as soon as he gets it back to us, then we'll hit the ground running with our 75 signatures. Once that's done, we can start scheduling our hearings.
Have we decided how many sets of signatures we need?
Well,
I would
We did discuss
say
that
no,
several
we
times.
haven't decided because we
It'd
haven't
be a
decided
long discussion
how
about
many
that.
articles
Right.
are we going to present? Are we
Right.
gonna present everything we've done in one article,
right.
or are we gonna present it in 2 or 3 articles?
And Brad discussed that when he was here. So,
What was the consensus on that?
There wasn't
Uh,
I
one.
think it would be a lot easier, you're only going in with 3 changes, for the shoreland,
ADU,
ADU, and contract.
mhm.
You go in with 3 separate, you're talking to one person, you're explaining all 3 in 3 separate pieces. The odds are they're gonna sign 3 separate pieces. If not, if they don't like a certain one, you gotta give them the option of not signing. But they're informed.
And the other option would be have 3 articles,
one
have
lump.
one sheet and say, read the 3 articles. If you don't like one of them, don't sign. Because we gotta get 75 signatures either way. We gotta find 75 people who like them all.
I'll have to go back and look at that meeting, but I am almost confident that Brad suggested 3 separate items.
I agree.
He suggested 3 items, but not 3 petitions.
I gotta believe the majority of people are gonna sign for all 3.
I believe so too.
I gotta-
Yeah, no, I agree. Brad did say these should be separated.
Yep.
Because we don't want to lose the whole thing because of one.
Right. you're throwing
But
it.
I don't see it making somebody sign 3 separate petitions, because most of the people are gonna look at it and they're gonna sign it. They're not gonna spend an hour reading the whole thing.
So we'll leave that for
Later date.
a later date to decide. We'll have some more opinion on that. I'll make sure we ask Brad. again.
Yeah, when we send it to Brad, what's your suggestion?
Just
I mean, the
please
only other
clarify. What are your
suggestion I would
thoughts?
say is
I don't
put
see
the
it
ADU
as.
stuff together and the contract zoning stuff
Right.
separate.
Right.
I
2
mean,
articles.
I'm for
Yeah,
asking
ADU and-
lawyers what
I
legal
just-
questions, but
I
that's
just
not a
gotta
legal
say,
question.
We're looking to inform, not what's easier for us to do.
Mhm, mhm.
We're looking to inform the people.
I don't disagree. But perhaps 2 articles, though. Well, three separate articles, but ADU and
Contract.
contract zoning.
They're totally different.
It's true.
There's no connection between ADUs and contract. Those are 2 separate.
Right.
And
Right,
shoreline
but
is a separate.
ADU in the regular ordinance with ADU in the shoreland,
I would.
and then contract zoning.
Yeah.
So,
That'd be a logical.
Yes, that's fair.
yeah,
That'd be
I
logical.
think that's,
I don't think people can have a problem signing their name twice.
I don't think so either. I mean, especially considering they're both the same in shoreland as it is regular zoning. I think that should be 1 set of signatures, and then contract zoning should be 1 set of signatures.
Those are 2 separate things. There's no
Yes,
connection between them.
Exactly. So there's that. Next item is,
Well, where's Brenda's A list of issues and?
no, she didn't do that. We just discussed that. And those are things that we can do after we've gone through our public hearings and all that.
Okay.
We're gonna wait until then.
Well, no, we'll
So
have
we're
other
not gonna do
stuff.
anything between now and May?
No, we're just gonna get this. We're gonna come back next meeting. You'll have all the changes. We'll approve those. We can do some of Brenda's A-list stuff then, or we can do grammar, or we can work on surveys next meeting.
So
Do you
that's not
actually
what
have an
just
A-list
said.
on
She's
paper,
gonna
Brenda, or-
Bring it in after we get our signatures.
No. No, I didn't say that.
Oh, I thought that we said.
No,
I must have
no.
misunderstood you.
No. I'm just saying, next week, we will get all the changes approved and voted on. Then it'll go off to Brad. After that, we're gonna have some time waiting for Brad, he might have it back quickly, we might not have any meetings before.
Well, there's no reason to wait for Brad, because Brad's only be looking at 3 things, and
Lindsay
we
asked
have
us to wait for
a
Brad.
whole bunch of other stuff to do.
I pointedly asked Lindsay though, and she suggested that
We
it
gotta-
goes to Brad before we start getting signatures.
But no, I didn't say that. I said, we shouldn't stop what we're doing just because we've sent it off to Brad. This
We're
is
not
not the only
stopping
thing,
it.
I hope the only thing it's not the only thing we're gonna do between now and May is that, those three items. You just said we're gonna look at the A list, we're gonna do that, we should be doing that, correct?
Yes, and
Oh,
Brenda
okay,
has
that's- I
to, Brenda has
misunderstood
to
again.
be in on that and say, okay, let's go to this section or work on this section before, I mean, we don't have a list right now is the point.
No, that's the point. That's
the
why
point.
he asked where the list was.
Exactly.
So
I'd like
what,
to start working on the list, but I don't know, are you looking for the fact that I spent an hour last week looking for mobile home park, and because it's not in the land use chart, I mean, that sounds like a insignificant,
Yeah,
but it took me an hour and Julie tripped across it.
Mhm.
So is it little things like that that you want on my
Yes.
list, or are you looking for big chunks like what you were just dealing with?
I think we should have the little things.
Everything that's important to you, Brenda,
Okay.
and I think one of
Since
the
you
most important
use-
things to you is land use.
the ordinance.
And we should be looking at land
Anybody.
use. We started looking at it and we didn't finish.
And I understand that land use could be changed significantly with with what the state is doing. So maybe we shouldn't beef it up with things that may be changed, but mobile home districts does live in the back of the book, and we bring it to the land use chart. I think something like that wouldn't be a waste of time. I don't think that would get shut down by the state. I think we have to be careful that we don't spend time on things that could be affected by the changes. But I'm looking at the book itself, the flow isn't always excellent.
that's putting it nicely.
The usability is difficult sometimes, and it's just like, we just found something, definitions that should be in there that aren't and isn't in there. That shouldn't be a problem with the state, I wouldn't think. And I'd like to start making a list, and then you as a group can say, this one may be affected, so we'll put that at the bottom. You see what I'm saying?
But you should write everything down that's important to you, large or small,
Okay,
you know, since.
you got it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then, this, I came across something today in your street acceptance policy, that it has a whole chart on a road that's exempt and non-exempt.
I understand.
Totally different criteria. I don't know what exempt means and non-exempt. There's nothing in there that tells me what that means. So you've got a huge job ahead of you. You've got a lot of policies and a lot of.
Yeah.
And I mean, does this group work with policies or just ordinances? How do you get a policy changed? I mean, I don't know.
Well, wait, now, when you're saying that policy, what are you actually?
Well, is the street acceptance, is that an ordinance or policy?
That would be,
Well,
it should be an ordinance.
It is.
Is
an
it?
ordinance, I think.
Okay, good. Then that would fall under your
Design, construction, standards.
ordinance.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's in there, and I got rattled to
No,
know
it is good.
because I had someone very angry at me. He was just
Mhm.
kind of chewing at my ear.
Yeah, I tell you, that is a little hard to understand. I mean, it's.
Which this, in
it's
particular,
this pink one
part
there.
where yeah, I know, but what section was
I
it?
think I don't have it with me. There was a chart that said non-exempt is this and exempt is that. And I couldn't tell the guy, and he was really angry.
Yeah.
It's one of those people anyway.
Yeah,
I shouldn't ask that.
welcome to my world. Yeah.
You have a mute button on your phone that can cut people off.
Yeah, you just hit it, yeah.
I'm bringing him to our next meeting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we'll handle that guy.
Brenda, it seems to me, my biggest complaint with the way this is the zoning ordinance, but in here, if I understand it correctly, are a whole lot of what you just referred to as like policies, like parking and stuff that's not zoning. it's town ordinance.
Well, it's a catch-all.
Yeah, it's a catch-all, but it's called zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
That
So
drives me
perhaps,
That drives me crazy.
all right, so let's not get sidetracked on street ordinance. I think she was just using that as an example, but let's just try to think about, let's just try to come to a consensus on where we want to go after we've sent this off to Brad. What do we want to work on next? I felt it was important that we're getting some feedback here. I felt it was important that we deal with the things that are most bothersome to Brenda, the things that she has to deal with every day, and maybe the things that need the most attention. If that is not the way the committee feels, then we need to speak up and say so.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. I thought that it seems to me that there are certain components of this zoning ordinance, not really zoning, that really applies to both shoreland and non-shoreland, for lack of a better way to put it. And maybe if that was structured a little better, it would be easier for the public to
So
not get mad
perhaps,
at the code enforcement officer because they can't find what they need to find.
What do you mean? Try to combine them, you mean?
No,
Oh, okay, yeah.
try and separate it out.
It is now.
No.
You-
You're not,
Shoreline
you're not
is,
following what I'm
oh,
saying.
okay,
There are components of the zoning ordinance that
correct,
are not zoning.
okay. I guess I don't know which ones they are. You got an example?
Dig something out.
I think a lot of them, George, are somehow grew out of, they're almost like standards for more like, well, I want to say subdivisions and development and things. Parking, certainly.
Well, where else should, I mean.
where else do you put it
Well, we
though?
have a subdivisions, we have a separate one for subdivisions, but you gotta put stuff somewhere. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're gonna, or not have it at all.
Right.
So, I mean, it's sort of, it may be a catch-all, but, and I'm not disagreeing with George, I'm just saying that if there are items that could be put into another, I mean, it could create, in theory, another ordinance, townwide, give it a name. Maybe some other towns have got an ordinance like that or something. I mean, it seems like the zoning ordinance is a place where you put stuff if you have no other place to put it.
Yeah,
Which-
I would agree with that. So,
That's all I was trying to say. I don't know if there's a quick and easy solution to fixing this, but
I think it's a good discussion.
I think that Brenda what she was saying about working on the flow of the zoning ordinance, I think that that's a good thing. She suggested that some things are here that shouldn't be here and maybe should go towards the front and not the back, and perhaps we can look at that. I don't know. Anybody else? I'm open to
Exempt private
suggestions.
ways and non-exempt private
Oh.
ways. Is that what you were talking about?
They're right here.
Brenda?
Oh, hold on.
Yes,
Exempt and non-exempt
Page
private
14.
ways. I
page
didn't think we
14.
concerned ourselves with any private ways.
Yeah,
Right here.
But it's in there.
it's there, yeah.
Page 14.
Page
I
14.
saw that, but it wasn't a definition.
No,
Well, it says what it is.
but like I say, I didn't think there was jurisdiction on private ways.
Uh,
You might be right. They may need a definition.
There's gotta be some sort of jurisdiction. There's jurisdiction over your private home
Correct.
that you build on your private house. So why wouldn't we have jurisdiction over the road as well?
I think it's just saying that I can't give them a permit on something, and there has to be some criteria to get to that.
Yeah, and I looked at the chart and it's pretty, you may not know what an exempt or a non-exempt is, but it covers them both.
It does,
So it doesn't matter what it is, it's still covered.
okay.
But I can see
I
that.
was just thinking about an earlier conversation we had about street stuff. And I know there are some towns that have fire protection ordinance.
Yeah.
The fire protection ordinance would say something like, fire department access per NFPA 1 has to be
Right.
maintained. Then that gives more of a legal backing for the authority having jurisdiction to say you're not following the town ordinance. You know, that,
we sort of need, I mean, I don't know whether this will happen, and maybe we can get some help from Southern Maine, but we really sort of need like an overall outside, take a look at our ordinances and see if there's a way to
That's
streamline these things,
what I've been
because we just,
saying.
you know, everyone's
Without the
trying-
direction.
Everyone's got something they wanna fix,
Yes.
and there's nothing wrong with fixing things, but, you know, we're putting little Band-Aids on the tire that maybe needs to be replaced.
Thank you for saying that so succinctly, Don. That's what I've been trying to
Yeah, I mean,
say,
and that's
and
the
you said it
problem, because
perfectly.
everybody wants to fix something, and I, myself included, you know, I have a big thing on contract zoning, but just if you have an issue, if you see something that's wrong, try to fix that piece. But the overall picture is, every town's doing its own thing, which is, I think drives me a little crazy, because that's why you have counties, but the county doesn't do anything for us. And I'm on whatever I'm on,
Right.
but that's true, I think.
It's true.
I mean, they do
It's
something,
absolutely true.
they do some fire stuff,
Mhm.
but they don't do much they don't help us with this planning at all.
We are not planners, and we need a
It's
planner.
frustrating, it's
And
frustrating.
the problem, of course, is the money.
Yeah, of
Brenda,
course.
you know, there is costs associated with that. And I think that Brenda and Comp Plan and Lindsay and everybody, they're trying to work towards that. I think that is the ultimate goal. But this growth management is a freight train. And you're either the engine or you're the caboose, one or the other. If we don't get in front of it, we're trouble. So my point has been right along. If we start at the beginning of this zoning ordinance and we start changing land use and districts and all that, we could very possibly have to come back by the time comprehensive plan is done. That's why I suggested taking a look at it from higher above. Taking a break was my first suggestion. I don't think, I second guess that. I think we should keep the momentum going. But I think we should keep it from higher above. Like I said, Brenda, perhaps with the flow, working on grammar, doing some surveys, until we at least know, yes or no, we're gonna have a planner or we're not gonna have a planner.
Mhm.
Every town, I shouldn't say every town, but a lot of the towns right now are using a planner.
Like a consultant.
Because even if it's a consultant, some of them hire them on, some of them have them as consultant, just to give that direction. That's why we've been so, the world's on fire, because we don't have a direction. And I'm trying to keep this on the rails or get us back on the rails. I want to stay on the rails, but we need that information. Michelle is the chair of the Comprehensive Plan Committee. She reached out to Lee J. Feldman to try to get some of the demographic data that supports the comprehensive plan so that we could move forward with comprehensive plan. Lee J. Feldman actually told her that he did not feel that that data would be good right now because of the legislation. It would change with the legislation that is in the pipe. So
Data's gonna change?
Well, maybe
Wow,
the
how can
The
data
demographic.
change?
maybe the formatting, possibly the formatting.
the formatting for sure.
What that means.
There's that much, behind the comprehensive plan right now, but it's from 2010. It's in various categories. There's about
Yep.
100 pages or more of stuff, data about our town. I mean, I'm sure there's other.
And that's gonna change based on what the state's doing?
No, I'm saying.
Data doesn't change.
No,
Oh, the data changes.
But it could be the way it's organized. I don't know.
The data is changing
So
a
we
lot.
gotta depend on Southern Maine for that. We gotta get updated 2020 data.
No, I'm saying it's not gonna change based on something the legislature writes. Data is data. We
But
have
the
X
data
number of people, it's not
changes.
gonna change when they.
That's the point. The data changes. Data is going to tell us how much growth has been in the town.
Correct, and that's not gonna change based on what they do.
But how do we know a direction to move
gotta
in
get
if we don't
this.
have that data?
I didn't say we shouldn't have the data, you said the data's gonna change based on what the state does. The data's
No,
not
I
gonna
didn't
change.
say that. I
Oh,
said the
yeah,
data
again, I
has
misunderstood you.
changed. Lee J suggested that he wouldn't get that data right now based on the legislation that's in the pipe.
Because he thinks it's gonna change.
He thinks his advice to us would change.
Oh, you said you were gonna ask for data, now we're gonna ask for advice, that's two different things too.
I think we're getting both if we hire him on as a consultant.
All right.
Or we should get both if we're hiring him on as a consultant. We just had, I actually have it right here.
What Dave's saying is the data that he can accumulate is not gonna change. The data is what it is. So many people, so much growth. His advice may change, depend on
Yes.
legislation, but
Correct.
the data is,
Yeah, so you
What
can
it
still
is.
get the data.
From him?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, absolutely. But again, as Don was saying, it gives us directions. And whether we get,
It's worthless.
That's the stuff in the back of the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
The pages, I mean, it's good information, but it's all based on 2010.
Mhm.
I mean, some of it may be the same historical stuff, et cetera, but the
Right.
2010 updating for population, things like that, it's gotta go to should go to 2020 census.
And the issue, land use, if you think land use is gonna change because of whatever the state does, I disagree that it will. If it does, it's gonna be very minor, and if it does, it's gonna be because you may have a different zone.
exactly,
The residential, there'll be a residential zone alignment, whether there's their little thing or not, okay? The land use for residential zones is gonna change very minor based on what the state does. So, I mean, we can avoid looking at it, or we can look at it. I mean, we've spun our wheels for the last 6 months, so I guess we could do it for another 6.
where if we change it though, we could just as equally be spinning our wheels.
And I don't think you should change it, and that's really for the comprehensive plan to drive.
The comprehensive plan doesn't drive land use in the residential zone. It's not gonna
Just a
be,
minute, let me finish.
yeah, okay.
But the zoning ordinance right now, there's some very specific processes in there that is supposed to be done as a staff review. I've asked everybody, what is a staff review? Nobody knows.
Needs to go.
Yeah,
It says it can be done by the staff review or by the planning board.
Yeah.
So it's things like that, let's get that on.
the purpose of the staff review is for small projects.
But there is no, I mean, it doesn't, it is.
For instance, there was a childcare center put in a while back. It was a small childcare center. It was done through staff review. Did a great job. Instead of taking something like that and putting it in front of the planning board and having them waste their time on it, that's the sole purpose of staff review.
what is the staff?
It's the
Who is the
CEO,
staff?
it's a member of the select board, it's the fire chief.
Ah.
It's, you were on that one, weren't you? Yeah, you remember that one?
Like my first week on the job, they said, hey, come to a meeting, it's a
Yes.
staff review meeting. I came in and had no idea, didn't even know what it was.
It says in the ordinance, it shall include the CEO, the road commissioner, the assessor, a fire department officer, and one member of the board of selectmen who shall chair the meetings. And I don't, when's the last time we ever met?
Well, it was done for that childcare center, I know
would
that.
say somewhere around 2019, 2020, probably 2020.
Yeah, it was probably 2020, it was before COVID.
All right, so
Anyway,
I'm trying
My
to,
first week on the job.
But maybe it's something like that that we need to discuss. I don't believe
rid of
that there's anything like that that should go before 4 people that have other jobs to do and sit in front of the planning board that has that's what they've done all along.
Nothing to do.
Some of
Well,
I'm not saying nothing
Yeah.
to do.
No, I know. No, I
They've
know.
got expertise that has grown over, I mean, we've got 2 members that have been on for what, 15 years?
yeah, I've been on.
I don't understand why you take any project, I don't care how small it is, and give it to a group that doesn't have that expertise. They've each got a piece of the expertise, but there's not a collaboration there.
I don't know, I would suggest if it's useful, keep it in. If it's not useful, get rid of it. You know, that's all I would say.
well, it was put in there for some reason, I don't think we should just throw it out because
I
we
don't know
don't
if it's
think it's useful.
useful.
Has it been used in the last
I
few
don't know.
years yet? It's been used probably more than the assessment review board.
Well, let's not get into that.
Okay, so let's pull this back on to track and see if, Dave or Buzzy, do you guys have any input on the direction you want the committee to go? Do you want to go back to the beginning of the zoning ordinance? Do you want to, what, any ideas?
I think we handle, next meeting, as you said, and then take care of whatever is, top of mind with Brenda.
Is Buzzy still with us?
Buzzy, are you still there?
Oh, I'm here.
And do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I thought that, well, we had in the beginning, was we were gonna start at page 1 and go through it one by one, and we seem to have gotten away from that.
Yes, and that's what we were discussing because
I say, yeah, finally, but, yeah, I get confused. We go to one spot, and then somebody's talking about another spot. So it's kind of hard to keep up and follow. If we were going page by page, it'd be a lot easier up with you guys.
Okay, all right.
I
And,
think the reason why we're not doing that, Buzzy, is because of time, the time factor of it all. So we've made 3, what I believe is good changes. Let's bring those to fruition, and let's do Brenda's top of mind to help her.
Mhm.
And, this committee doesn't go away. We can, after the time frame of May or whatever that deadline is, we can start at page 1 if we wanted to.
Well, we'll just have to stick that up. You change subjects.
right. Right. Okay, so how about this? How about we just kind of wait for Brenda. Next meeting, we will take Dave's changes. We'll vote on them. We'll get those shipped off. Then we will continue our discussions at the next meeting. Brenda will have a list for us, and we will go over that list, see if there is a place that we want to start. If we all decide that, you know what, this isn't working, everything's going, we'll just go back to the beginning and start there. I do not feel that starting back at page 1 and getting into some of this growth stuff, I don't think we'll get anything accomplished. I feel that, first of all, I feel that that part of the ordinance, we need to get community input on that. That is what we're supposed to do. The charter tells us to do that. I think we're all gonna have different opinions on not only districts, dimensional requirements, land use, we're just gonna sit here and do the same thing we've been doing for the past 6 months. Without the guidance of comprehensive plan saying, hey, this data shows that, we have a high elderly population. Is there a district that we can perhaps?
Move those people too?
Yeah, I'm going to an ADU.
Something like that.
Let's send
My
down,
backyard.
Southern Quota down there.
So let's just kind of go with it then. We'll talk about that when we get there next meeting. Ordinance review, comprehensive plan will be meeting next week. So I should have some more updated information. Hopefully, I'll know a little more about whether or not a planner is going to give us a little more guidance for comprehensive plan. And I, of course, will come back and share that information with you guys. And we'll just kind of go with it.
Are we to assume that the changes that we've made already will go to town council?
Yes. That's what I am assuming. Is everybody else assuming that?
Well, what I have gotten out of this meeting is I'm gonna write them all up. I'm gonna send them out to everybody to review one more time.
Mhm.
And at our next meeting, we're gonna approve them and send them to Brad.
Set 'em up.
Yes. That's my understanding as well.
Get them out of.
Yes, get him going on it.
And they're significant items, I think
Yeah,
you've done a
that's
good
helpful.
job.
Yep, I think they are,
City months.
for sure. So I will look for a motion.
Go ahead, Dave, time for a motion.
Hey, I motion to shut it down.
Okay,
Any second?
second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Happy New Year.
Oh, Brenda, thank
Happy
you.
New Year. I hope you guys have a great day in Florida tomorrow. I know you're
We
gonna
look
be
forward to
not
seeing
getting
your
snow
list.
like we are.
Wait, you know, my mind is going.
No, put,
I'm going to seem like insignificant.
no,
but
nothing
they-
is insignificant.
They made a difference in my flow in the office.
I can imagine what you're up against.
I just don't see why drainage improvements are underdimensional.
And let me know if,
So I'll have things like that.
Well, you get all the complaints too.